Okay, honors. This is a recording just for my honors students who are going to remain digital. And I do want to tell you that, listen, I absolutely respect everybody's decision on this. And I am going to, because I believe it will work for everybody involved, just record your class normally and then package up that recording and have it out to you around 3 or 4 and everything p.m. each day. And everything will still be on the Google Classroom. But there was so much important material today that I worried in sort of the chaotic nature of a first day of school, because even though it's not the first day of school, it's probably going to feel a little like it on Monday. I was just afraid that I would not be able to get something in, so I wanted to take the time and record this just for you and just for honors, because non-honors had a separate recording because we really focus on some different things for them. So in the future, again, this is going to be, it probably won't be quite as clear in the sound because there'll be some background noise with some other students, but you're still going to get the same material that everybody else did, and we are going to use that Google Classroom platform, whether you are in person or at home, so that's going to look exactly the same. Because if a student is in here and they want to turn in their document of the week, they still have to submit it. They can open up their laptop and do it here, or you can open it up and submit it in your kitchen. It doesn't really matter to me. It ends up in the same place. So I'll talk real quick about expectations. I don't think this is a big concern for my honors students. There's only maybe 2 of you that have not been consistent in your work effort. The expectation is that if you are in the room, you're physically in the room, obviously you're working, you have your laptop charged up and ready. If you want to take notes on paper, that's fine, but I'm not going to take that paper. So you can use it as a resource, but you and I are not going to be exchanging papers. We're going to use Google Classroom. If you're online, my expectation is that you watch this video, the daily video, because that's just like attending class, and of course that you do your work. And again, I think the overwhelming majority of you are going to be fine in this. So we're going to quickly review the test because the test was not an issue for my honor students. And these are the overall results. Remember, I'm never going to show individual, identified persons' scores. I might show how many A's, B's, and C's, but et cetera, but not who they were. So your honors class scores went down, but this is very typical, a little bit higher actually than last year when they were in person. So I feel like you're adapting very well to what's going on. This is very typical. The Unit 2 test is a little bit harder, denser material, and so it usually goes down. It went down to about where last year's was. You were a little bit higher before, so this is very typical. I'm not worried about these results at all. Now, if you didn't like your results, that's fine. Sorry, that's another class. If I look at the test scales, the non-honors are much lower, but that's not your concern. Your class had a 41.1% average. That's 82.3%, and there are 3 missing. You had, 7 A's, 6 B's, 5 C's, 3 D's, and an F. Most of you did fine on this. Some of you were caught off guard, and now you know where the bar is. We're not going to panic, but this is where the standard is. It doesn't change. Between the fact that we have an air test that, as far as I know, we still have to pass, and you're in an honors class, this is where the bar is. You must rise to it, and I know you can. I have high expectations of my students, and that's why I get really good results. I truly do believe that. I'll work hard. I'll expect you to do the same. So as far as the test goes, we're only going to go over a couple questions, and I don't use the same, I'll use a different form then for those of you who have to make it up, so that's fine. Whoops, wrong thing. Oh, there'll be lots of clicking, I'm sure. Nope, that's not what we want to show. Let's show this. You had a tough form, I think, in that you had to think a little bit more than some of the other ones. But let's look over this first question. It's worth 4 points. Each part is worth 2 points. Federalist paper number 65. What does this quote admit about the Constitution? In the most concise way, it admits that it's not perfect. It's not perfect. But what remedy is built in for this? You can amend it. That's all there is to it. It's not perfect. That's why you can amend it. Our forefathers knew that their ideas were bigger than their actions, that they were building something that was beyond, pure imperfections of individual men who were imperfect men who were putting together this document. It's not perfect, but you could fix it, and those are called amendments. Provide the name of one of the authors of the Federalist Papers. Most of you were very solid on this. Madison comes to mind, Hamilton, John Jay, those are the three. What was the intent of the author in being part of the campaign? It's real simple. They wanted to drum up support for the Constitution. They wanted to convince people the Constitution was worthy. Most of you got this one, but there were a handful of people who struggled with this. And I just want to make sure you understand where I'm coming from on this number 37. When I say explain why the 19th and 26th amendments were enacted, this is something we covered in our live sessions a few times, but some of you just told me what the amendments do. And you've just got to know that I know you can look that up so fast, so why would I bother asking you that? I think Mr. Birch teaches 1-9 women are fine. Okay, so now you'll remember that. I mean, that's a silly little slogan, but sure, you can remember that. 26th Amendment, whatever. You can Google this so fast. It's why were they enacted? What happened in society? And you go, oh, well, people finally decided women were worthy. Listen, women were worthy from the beginning. What finally convinced men that they were? And so that was that experience in World War I. In World War I, women were working in factories, and men finally said, oh my gosh, they are capable. Now, with the 26th Amendment, why was it enacted? Well, men were getting drafted to go fight in Vietnam, and Vietnam was not as popular as some other wars. And so people were questioning, wait, I could have to get drafted and potentially die for my country, but I can't vote for the people that send me? So those were why they were enacted. It's fairly, it just takes a little bit more thinking through, a little bit more of an explanation. And then what was the effect? Well, with the 19th, it literally doubled the number of voters. With the 26th, you could argue it increased the voting populace a little bit. Now, some of you now each part of that is worth 2 points. Why it was enacted and what the effect was. 2 points, each part, both amendments. Some of you did little things like you said, women were working in factories during the Vietnam War. Okay, you're close. It's 1 point. Or somebody said the Civil War. No, you're way too early, but that's, you got the right idea, so that's just 1 point. So that's where you get some partial credit in there, okay? So that's your test. That's a fairly tough test. I think your next test is a little bit, material you're a little bit more familiar with, but just wanted to let you know why you might have missed some of these. Remember, it's Progress Book that has your updated grade. Progress Book is your actual grade that matters for your GPA, that's on your permanent record. Google Classroom is just the basically format in which I reach you. That's all it is. So your actual grade is housed in Progress Book. You want to know how you're doing? Check on that. Okay, let's talk about essays. So we go back to this results page. Boy, do I have a lot of stuff jammed into this results page. And I want to talk to you about your essays, which actually made me, nope, that's the wrong class. That's an AP class. You might be in there someday. But your essays really please me in the scheme of things. You're probably one of my better writing classes in the last 2 or 3 years as sophomores, and I will tell you, it kind of surprises me. Not that I had any bad impression of you, but just because, let's face it, we've been in a pandemic for 6 or 7 months, and school's been weird. So good. I'm very pleased and pleasantly surprised at this. So I've got 2 stats here, on time and not. So the blue dashes are on time essays. So for the essays that were on time, we had 11 A's, 9 B's, 2 D's. For those that were late, we had 3 F's. So listen, it's not a coincidence. Those who got it in on time averaged a 23 or 88%. Those who were late averaged a 4.3 out of 25 or a 17.2% F. So it's just, get them in on time. If you think the essay is going to be difficult, I get it. But waiting extra days will not make it easier. It just makes it tougher. So I want to talk about some of the feedback. So very impressed again, but some common mistakes which we could start off with. And listen, I want to tell you too that these are going to become 50-point essays. They're going to become a significant part of your grade. They're going to equal your test. But I ease you into that because I want you to make sure you know what's going on, what I'm doing, what I'm looking for before I just hit you with 50 points. But some common mistakes. You got to capitalize proper nouns. The Constitution, for example, gets capitalized. Proper names get capitalized. Anytime you have I, that's capitalized. If it's alone, I or I've or I'd, that's always capitalized. Some of you did not have 5 sentences in each paragraph. I'm going to show you some really good examples, though. Some did clearly, some alluded at some of the ideas. So what I'm talking about here is, for each part of the essay, I told you that there were certain, or each part of the amendment that you chose, there were certain things I was looking for. So, no, I don't want that. There we go. So, this is a great example, and I'll just call the student Z. You can probably figure out who it is. If each part, or if each amendment you're supposed to write about is worth 5 points, you get 1 point for telling me what the amendment protects, what right it protects. Number 2, 2 points, why it's important to you, and 2 points, how it does or could directly affect your life. Some of you were really direct, and that's really the best way to write an essay. You want to write an essay so that if any dummy, meaning me, is reading it, they can't misunderstand it. Like, it'll be so obvious what you're saying. So Z wrote, under the 19th Amendment, women were granted the right to vote. See? So she told me what it protects. Okay. Why is it important to you? It's more than just the green, but she really hits it here with this highlighted green. The 19th Amendment is important to me because, I mean, how could I miss that? No matter how dumb I am as the reader, I can't miss that. She just told me. It's most important to me because I think that women are just as smart as men and are rather well thought out people. Okay, I ask you why it's important to you. You just told me. Here's the one where a lot of people didn't spell it out. How it does or could directly affect you in your life. And so she tells me here in this blue part, this amendment will directly affect me in my life since I am a female citizen of the United States. Now, when she was writing that, she was probably like, how do you not know that? Come on, Penrose. But this is what we're doing. I'm having you spell it out. Part of it is so you understand it too. But this is what I want you to tell me. This is what I want you to explain. Now, some of you, basically, now how do I go back to where I was? Some of you alluded to it. You're explaining it, and I feel like I know why it's important to you or how it is, so relevant, but you don't really say it, so I gave you partial credit. Some did everything but spell it out. So I give it's called a squiggle. I stole this from a professor. It's basically minus half, but I don't count it unless there's 2. So if there's 2 squiggles, I take off 1 point. I stole that from a college professor. It's like, oh, it's so close. It's not enough to just not say something, but it's not enough to take off the point. So a lot of you had a squiggle, that's what we call this thing, or minus 1, because you alluded to it. You were so close, but really the very best essays. And moving forward, this is what you want to do. You just want to spell it out so clearly. The biggest item, though, we have to fix is unnecessary fluff sentences. I do not like, it is such a pet peeve of mine, but really of a lot of writing teachers, fluff sentences that don't belong there. By the way, this is an intro written by M. We'll just say M. Probably figure out who he is too, but that's okay. This is what a good intro looks like if you want to pause and read through that. I mean, there are lots of great intros, but you're telling me what you're going to tell me, and his conclusion was very similar. But what we want to avoid is these filler sentences. Now, this is completely anonymous. I don't want to even give letters, but at the end, when you have 4 sentences and you're being graded on a 5th and you say, this is why I cherish the 19th Amendment. Well, first off, I is always capitalized. But I know you already told me all that. This is just complete fluff. Or this one, therefore the First Amendment is very important. I know that. You just spent 4 sentences telling me that. This isn't adding anything to it. You and I both know the game you're playing. You're counting your sentences and go, oh, Penrose is going to make me write 5. I have already written 4, and I really don't know what else to say, so I'll just say this thing. I don't grade those. I just count those off. These 3 amendments are most important to me. I know, because you chose them, and you put them in your essay. So I don't mean this mean. I'm just saying, this is fluff. I don't need this. I'm starting this essay off with the very First Amendment. I know. I'm going to read your essay, and it said the First Amendment. So I don't need these fluff sentences. It is a common problem that young writers have. Oh, my goodness. And common problem old people have is not clicking the right thing. But I want to give you some other examples I've had over the years and just give you a general concept of why fluff sentences don't work. So I'm going to give you a silly example. Sentence depth, okay? If you've ever seen Titanic, okay? This is an old movie, but a lot of people have seen it. And listen, if you've seen it, you know there was room in that door. Okay, so here's what Leonardo DiCaprio's character says as he's freezing to death and about to let go of the door so Rose can be saved, because Rose is greedy and won't share the door with him as they're drowning in the Atlantic. Okay, winning that ticket, Rose, was the best thing that ever happened to me. It brought me to you. I'm thankful for that, Rose. I'm so thankful. You must do me this honor. You must promise me that you'll survive and you won't give up, no matter what happens, no matter how hopeless. Promise me now, Rose, and I'll never let go of never let go of that promise. And again, he was freezing to death. I promise you, if sophomores wrote the screenplay to the Titanic, it would go like this. I feel winning that ticket was good. That was really good. You should survive. Promise me you'll survive. Those are my feelings on that. In conclusion, please survive. Stop that. You're better than that. That's not how you guys talk. When I've heard you guys talk, you sound so intelligent. I have a bright, brilliant, vibrant class. And when you speak about things that you care about, you sound more like this up here. But when you write, you give me this. I just can't fathom a single one of you like having an argument with me and then saying, in conclusion, you're wrong. That's not how people talk. So again, these are some excerpts from other essays in years past. This first one is always the same. I change up my other writing assignments, but this first one I keep the same. It's a good warm-up essay. This is a good sentence. The first 10 amendments, labeled as the Bill of Rights, are debatably the most important and set the foundation of our human rights as Americans. Awesome. In total, there are 27 amendments. The first 10 are called the Bill of Rights. Stop it. Get rid of in conclusion and in my opinion. I know it's your paper. That's how I know it's your opinion. This is why I value this amendment. Stop it. So, also make sure it's a real sentence. A couple of you had ones like this. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Not a sentence. If you're trying to steal it from the Declaration, there's a lot more words before they use those. Nothing is happening in this sentence. The most important amendments in our Constitution. What? I need to know what the next thing is, and those are those examples from this year. So, listen, overall, you guys did great. But I have high expectations for writing. It is really the only thing that it's the biggest thing, I should say, that I'm doing to differentiate honors. I'm going to really hammer home writing because some of you are going to move on to AP and some of you are not, and that's fine too. But you'll know, okay, I've got a couple more years. But as an honors student, you're potentially looking at college, and it's okay if you aren't right on track your sophomore year. You're sophomores. But if you want to continue on that path, and if you want to really push that path and maybe start taking college classes early and things like that, the writing is where you're going to have to do the most growth. And some of you, again, are in really good shape. So let's do our last two things. And that is that this week you have a document of the week on news. And I just wanted to give you guys are really good on your documents of the week, but I wanted to give you some reminders. And this is up here, and you can freeze it if you want to go through it, but I'm going to fly through this for you guys. So when you have a document of the week that's based on news, okay, it showed up in your Google Classroom in the stream and assignments, probably at 7 a.m. on Monday. You pick a news story. Very important. No sports, no entertainment. It's got to be news, and it's got to be from a reputable news source. Listen, I'm not getting into whether or not they're biased and, whether Fox and CNN, either of those are fine. I don't care which end they're biased, as long as they're real news, meaning not Twitter, not Facebook, not Instagram. News stories, not my uncle's, aunt's, cousin's, nephew's, niece's, neighbor said. CNN, ABC, Fox, a newspaper of Sandusky Register, Cleveland Plain Dealer, any real news source, and you hyperlink it right here. And that way I can look at the story. I use National Public Radio as my source. So I can just go to that story and double check that you didn't just copy the words. And if I haven't heard of the story, I can look up, learn a little bit about it myself. So you hyperlink it. So you put your name at the top. I've always told you in the right-hand corner. So many of you are doing it in the left-hand corner. I don't even know if I care. Fine. Name at the top. Hyperlink it below. So that's some points right there. And then give me a 5-sentence summary. In your own words, what's going on? This story happened to be about how Dr. Fauci said he's really worried about Thanksgiving. So I summarize his story. And then you give your opinion. That's supposed to be for honors 5 sentences. I just wrote my opinion that this is really tough, that I host 40 people at my house on Thanksgiving. But, this year I might not be able to because I care a lot about those 40 people, and some of them are older and have, conditions that make me concerned about them. And add to that my youngest son is in college, and I feel like he has more exposure, and I would just feel horrible if he brought something home. But that's my opinion. You can have the opinion of, I'm going to have 100 people over, and I don't care what they say. I'm not really here. I don't get to grade your opinion. What I'll grade is, Did you make any threats? Okay, that would be bad. Did you have any profanity? That would be bad. And then did you spell things right and have it grammatically correct? Other than that, it doesn't matter whether I agree or disagree. That's not the point. I like reading your opinions. Some of you really, I could tell you picked stories last time that meant something to you, and it was fantastic. And I happen to agree with a lot of you, but it doesn't really matter. It's just grading-wise. It's not my job to change how you think. Well, let me rephrase that. I might want to make sure that you know how to express how you think, but I'm not here to change opinions on things like this. And then when you have a news story, the challenge is it reliable? Now, if it's a document I hand you, like when I gave you the Anti-Federalist Papers, is it primary, secondary, and why? That's not what this is. When it's a news story, it's always going to be, is it reliable, why or why not? So I said this story is reliable. National Public Radio, NPR, just reported what Fauci said, who is an expert in communicable diseases. He's not just some guy off the street. So I said it's reliable. Okay? So you have that assigned. It is due by the start of your class on Friday. Don't wait till Friday. Get it done way before Friday. That would be way better. Now, on the Bell schedule, Friday, let's see, your class starts at like 9:55, so that might change your due date or your due time by about 5 minutes if you're one of those people pushing it all the way to Friday. Just turn it in Wednesday or Thursday, or better yet, Monday or Tuesday, and get that done. All right, last thing. This is the start of a new unit, Unit 3-4. So, at the beginning of each unit, I will show you all the vocabulary words for that particular unit. Not all of them, but a lot of the ones. And I'll have a discussion in the live class about, do you guys know these? And and some people will say, I think I do. And if they're wrong, we just say, no, it's not it, but that's close. But if you're right, I'll go, yeah, that's it. And they call it front loading. It kind of just gives you an idea of, these are some of the things we're going to cover in this unit. I will tell you that I would like you to write these down in some notes that you keep for the test. You can type these out. You can write them on paper, but you should write them down. And I don't care if you know them today. I really don't. I'm not mad if nobody knows these words. What I will tell you at the beginning of every chapter, I don't care if you know these words today. I care an awful lot if you know them in 3 weeks or 4 weeks, whenever we have our next test. Because what you should do is then to get ready for the test, you go back, and this is the first thing you would do is go back to these words and go, do all these look familiar to me? Oh yeah, now I know these. Oh wait, I don't know if I know oligopoly. And then you look that one up. That's a way to study. So don't care if you don't know them today. That's what they pay me for. That's literally my job, to teach you these words and other things and concepts and make things make sense over the next few weeks. I do care an awful lot if they don't make sense at the end of this unit. So you want to make sure you write these down so you can refer to them at the end of the unit and go, oh, okay, yeah, I know this stuff. Or, oops, I better study this. Okay, tomorrow you will have a recording of a live class, and it will be posted between 3 and 4. So I hope this makes sense to everybody, and I hope everybody has a great day, and we, get back in the swing of things, and everybody's getting the grade they feel they deserve. All right, have a great day, everybody.